Hello, Espresso Talk Today friends. It's Ben here. Welcome to this Espresso Talk Today show on financial empowerment. Now I'm here today to introduce the host of this exciting monthly show, Jorick Gaines. I'll tell you about him in just a minute. The Espresso Talk Today team felt that it was important to add this financial empowerment dimension to our podcast. Why? Well, I'm glad you asked. Did you know that a recent study found that only 30% of people around the country are financially literate? That means 70% of the country is financially illiterate or non-literate. It's considered the number one economic crisis in America. Many people are struggling with meeting their basic financial needs right now, and they're also fearful of a future in which they don't have the resources for retirement or the ability to leave financial assets to the next generation. The ETT team felt it was important to address these sad and scary, but unfortunately very common situations. And that is exactly what Jorick specializes in. Jorick has over 35 years of experience in the financial services industry. As a nationally registered investment advisor representative, he takes a holistic approach to working with business owners and families from every income level. His personal mission is to create financially independent families through education and application. He teaches people how money really works, because most people are not taught this important information in school. And many people have no idea how to even handle their money, whether it's $100, $1,000, $10,000, or even $1 million. As Jorick says, knowledge is only power when it's applied. So, education and application are his specialties. His goal is to help his clients maximize their spendable income and increase their net worth, even while they sleep. That is why he works with WealthWave, which is committed to educating and helping its clients become financially independent. Personally, I like Jorick's big picture and stress-free approach to teaching financial literacy to young people who are still getting their education or just starting their careers, as well as to older people who may see retirement on the horizon. And I think the book, How Money Works, that Jorick will mention in today's show, is a real eye-opener and a game-changer. In the previous show in February, Jorick focused on the elements of the wealth mindset, because that is the foundation for building wealth, having the focus, the discipline, the information, and the tools to take the action needed to build wealth. If you missed that show, I strongly urge you to go back and listen to it, because Jorick revealed major insights about the wealth mindset and how your mindset will either propel you forward or hold you back. In today's show, Jorick will focus on the elements of a financial education, particularly the 3 most important things to know about being financially literate. This includes everything from building wealth and savings as a student, retirement planning, tax planning, and a whole lot of other wisdoms that you really need to know. I know that you're anxious to hear this show with Jorick, so let's get started with this uncommon conversation.
Hey Ben, hey Marlene.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. And you?
Pretty good. The weather's good again, so I can't complain today. I know.
Nice. I wish we had good weather. It has been windy and rainy pretty much all day.
That's for sure. It's supposed to be for the next week as well, so.
Well, back to the fun.
Hey, well Marlene, you remember Jorick from last month?
Yeah, I do. Hey, Jorick.
Hello, Marlene.
And Jorick.
How's everything going?
Pretty good. I'm glad to have you back on.
Hey, it's my pleasure. I'm glad to be here.
And Jorick, this is Ben.
Hey, yeah,
Ben?
nice to meet you.
Welcome, Ben. Good you could join us.
Yep.
Yeah, telling me he's really interested in learning some financial stuff. And I said, well, you have to talk to Jorick then. So.
Thanks, Robin. I appreciate that.
Well, and actually, one thing, before we get started on some of the things that they wanted to talk about, I just wanted to mention that last month we were talking about the wealth mindset versus the, I don't know, is it poverty or the sucker mindset? And yeah, I can't, like that term sucker, it just puts it really up in your face.
Let me tell you a quick story about that. And this is from the authors and the animators. It is said that they were working on the idea of the book. This is probably 2 or 3 years ago, and they met at a restaurant in Atlanta. And Tom Matthews, who is the author, and he's with our company. He's a almost 40-year veteran, and he was saying, I would like to see the title of the book, How Money Works. If you change your literacy, you'll change your life. And they said they had the publicist there, and the publicist goes, "Oh no, that's something everybody says. That doesn't stand out. You want something that stands out." And so the other co-author, who's a bit of a character, and I really like his humor and his directness, to be honest, he blends them together. He said, "No," he said, "if I had my way, I'd say How Money Works. Stop being a sucker." And Tom Matthews is a very conservative guy, and he's like, I can just see the scowl on his face, and the animator Andy Horner, and they're all in the back of the book. You can see him. He's already drawing the sucker and animating it because he's bought the idea, and the publicist is like, "Yeah, that would be great." So those of you that can't see, you know the title of the book, How Money Works. Stop Being a Sucker, and it is available on Amazon. So interesting. And I know I'm going on, but every time I hear Tom Matthews, he's like you, Robin. I just saw you kind of, it was almost like you couldn't say sucker, you know. And Tom is like that when he does a presentation and he says sucker, he says, "We don't say that to be insulting." We say that to say, if you don't understand how money works, you'll be a sucker to somebody that does.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I have to admit, I mean, using the term sucker, I remember that. And I'm thinking, well, I don't want to be that. So,
Yeah. Yep.
And I love how the first few pages spends the time to really go deep with the insult and tell us how badly of a sucker or how much of a sucker we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it's a revelation, you really don't want to say sucker, because then you look back and you go, "Man, have I been a sucker."
Yeah. Well, yeah, I also just remember, kept looking through it. I was like, okay, I get it. Relax a little bit. But anyway, I think we do still have some questions to ask. And I think one question that I was really curious about during the book was, what does financial literacy look like in practice?
Well, in practice, you know, it is learning and doing, if I could simplify it. You know, it's making financial decisions a priority, you know, because, I mean, if you ask most people, what is it you really want out of life? Most people say, I want to work X number of years. I want to be able to retire and live my life on my terms, if you will. You know, be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it with whom I want to do it with, and not be worried about money. But the reality is we haven't made that a priority. You know, most people make buying a car a priority, going out to dinner a priority, and they justify it with, "I earned it. I'm deserving." But when you look up, if you continue that sucker cycle, buying stuff you don't need, in a lot of cases with money you don't have, to impress people, let's get real, that don't really care, it's foolishness.
Yeah.
So it's learning and putting in the simple answer, it's learning and putting into practice what you learn for the benefit of you and your family in the future.
Okay. And then actually just a short follow-up question to that is, so do you think a mistake a lot of people make is kind of being really focused on this kind of hustle culture and trying to just work as hard as they can all the time just to make all this money to impress people?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. You know, buying stuff, you know, anyway, I won't go into that. I was going to say, yeah, a lot of people, you know, you talk to them about saving in an investment or something, and they'd rather go, I'm in California, so they'd rather go to Las Vegas and party for the weekend, you know, and then complain about what money they don't have.
right.
Very true. I mean, but that can't be our fault. That's the world we live in, right?
Well, you know, you get old enough, you have to take some responsibility, you know, and you know, all you have to do really to find out where you're headed is to look at people that did what you are doing, because success and failure leaves clues. Because if you do what everybody else does, you're going to end up where everybody else ends up. Now, if they're where you want to be, keep doing it. If they're not, change direction and change quick.
But I mean, Jorick, is it really an either or kind of thing? Because I know my mother often brings up, how many women skipped having, what is it, dessert on the Titanic? Could people want to have, are you choosing between immediate gratification and delayed, or, just only having the delayed gratification, a good retirement, but when you're younger, you're not going to Las Vegas and having any fun or going out to dinner. Is it really an either or?
Well, it doesn't have to be an either or. I think you can do anything in moderation. It's just that when we buy into the advertisements of Madison Avenue, where we've got to have I don't want to call name brands, I don't want to give people free advertising, but we've got to have these designer ladies, no offense, because you ladies shop more than we do. Let's just get real. And to my point, if you go into a major store and you say, where's the men's department? It's almost always in the back, in the corner, in that little square,
So true.
The other 90% of the store is for the ladies. So Madison Avenue knows who spends the money.
Yeah,
but no, yeah, they know spending the money. Even, it said that women control, and I don't have these numbers exact, so just as a joke, women control 80% of the money in America, and they have ready access to the other 20%. Easy access to the other 20%. But anyway, no, it doesn't have to be either or. Matter of fact, I don't recommend all savings and no fun, because if you understand the way the brain works, the brain wants some enjoyment. And if you don't give it a little every now and then, it's going to sabotage what you're doing. So no, I believe in having some fun. Matter of fact, I have a philosophy. Truly, I adopted it on my own. If it's not fun, I'm not doing it. No, find some things that are fun, that don't break the bank.
Yeah.
Right, that's true. Good point.
There are lots of free fun things.
There are lots of what?
Free fun things.
There are. And I'm not to say don't splurge every now and then, but when you start trying to live the life of the rich and famous and you're not rich and famous, you're going to be in trouble.
Maybe we should switch gears and talk about specific accounts, because I have a couple questions.
Okay.
Can you explain what a Roth IRA, I can't even say it, what a Roth
IRA
account is?
Yeah, IRA is an acronym. It stands for Individual Retirement Account. That's an account you can do personally outside of your company's retirement plan. So you can have one at the company if it's a good one and it makes sense. And there are some that don't, let me just say that. And then you can have your individual retirement account, which is separate of your job. And there's even I don't want to get into detail, but there is so let's say you're married, Marlene, and let's say you got a Mr. Mom. And he stays home and does, because we live in a different world now, right? So let's say he's the one that stays home, you're the breadwinner. He can actually open a spousal IRA, even though he doesn't have income. So anyway, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but Roth IRA, there is a traditional IRA and there is a Roth IRA. Traditional IRA, traditionally, the money you put in, you can deduct on your income taxes, lower your taxable income, and not pay taxes on the money you contributed to your Roth IRA. It grows tax deferred. And here's the downside: when you withdraw it at retirement or whenever, that's when you pay taxes on whatever you draw. So what you deducted what you put in, and you didn't pay taxes. So which means you didn't pay taxes on your contribution. You didn't pay taxes while it grew over your working life. So the IRS says, we'll tax it when you start taking it out. Well, now, if you remember part in the book, go ahead. And then the Roth is just a flip of that. So in, I want to say 1993, Congress enacted a law. I can't remember what it was. Somebody actually asked me that question. But where now they did the Roth IRA. The Roth IRA says you can contribute the same amount. You can't do both. Well, you can do both, but I won't get into detail. let's say instead of a traditional IRA, you did a Roth IRA. With the Roth IRA, you don't reduce your taxable income. You pay taxes on what you put in.
Okay.
The money grows the same way as the traditional, but because the IRS put it in the rule, Congress put it in the law, when you withdraw from your Roth IRA, as long as you follow the rules, leave it in there, the appropriate amount of time, you get to withdraw all of that completely income tax free.
Okay.
Wow.
So if you remember in the book, I think it was
It was the not. It was the
remember
not
which of the characters.
deferred, or is that what you're referring to?
Well, I was going to say one of the characters inherited $10,000 and it grew to $240,000. So the question becomes this: would you rather pay taxes on $10,000 or would you rather pay taxes on $240,000? Because I think what you were really alluding to, Marlene, was we have basically three ways we're taxed on our money. We're taxed now, we're taxed later, or it's tax never, tax exempt. Now, what we're talking about when we say tax never, that's the growth. Going back to the example, $10,000. Now you can't put 10,000 in an IRA, just so you know. The max is 6,000 at you youngsters' age, and Robin and I, I'm guessing Robin's over 50. If you're over 50, you get $1,000 catch up, so you can put 7,000 in. But with the $10,000, let's assume had already been taxed. It grew to 240,000, so you got 230,000 profit, which is exempt from federal and state income taxes.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, that seems like the way to go. Why would we have others?
Well, because they were there first, and our industry, remember I said we're disrupting the industry, and our industry is pretty traditional. We're very old fashioned. So we do what people know. Some people in some companies, they don't want to educate. They don't want to educate. They don't want to teach you. Some of them, I think most of them do, but there's still some companies. If you call a company up or go into some banks and you want to open an IRA, the person in a lot of cases isn't even qualified to explain the differences and the benefits. In a lot of cases, let's get real. You got $7,000. Let's say Robin, you and I, we want to go into a financial institution and open a Roth IRA, or let's just say a traditional IRA. I'll just say IRA. And if the person you walk up to, let's say it's a bank, and it's the customer service person, I literally have a client that has a Roth IRA. No, I think it is a Roth, but it is literally invested in a savings account.
Oh.
And I told her to look at her statement and see what the interest is, and it was 0.02%.
Oof.
Wow.
Now, if you understand the rule of 72, it'll take her money, what was it, 800 years to double.
Years.
Man.
Explain
Yeah.
the
Say that
rule
again?
So Ben, you had
Well,
a
the
question?
rule of 72 is
No, that was it. Yeah, go ahead.
the rule of 72 is a mental math shortcut where you can estimate how long it takes your money to double, as long as you know what the rate of return is. Now, it works for you if you're earning interest. It works against you if you're paying interest, like on a credit card. So, for instance, if you divide, I'll use an easy number. If you do, let's say you're earning 6%, and you divide 6 into 72, it takes your money 12 years to double. So if you deposit 10,000, and it's an estimate. So if you deposit 10,000 and you earn 6%, in 12 years you'll have $12,000. Now you got a credit card, and you're paying 6% interest. That means in 12 years you will have paid twice as much as what you borrowed.
Okay.
Now here's the downside: banks are not paying you 6%.
No.
They'll pay you the national average. We just had this redone is 0.05%. But you go get a credit card and they're charging you 17.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, so then on that point, how realistic then is it that you could get like about 9% on that interest from a bank if on average you're having about 0.2? Like, will a bank be really skeptical of doing that type of deal with you?
Well, it's the bank's never going to do it. You have to invest in investments that have a track record of earning a 6 or 9 or not. The S&P, which is an index, you can't invest directly into the S&P. But I think over the last 70 or 80 years, it's averaged around 9%.
Mm.
And there are index funds like an S&P fund or Dow fund that you can invest in, which attempt to do what the S&P index does. That's their goal.
And so what exactly does
So it
the
is possible.
And so what exactly does the S&P index do?
Well, the S&P index is just an index that gives you an idea of what the stock market is doing overall. The S&P 500, that's Standard and Poor's, which is a company, and it's a trademark. Let me give my disclaimer. The S&P 500 is a trademark by Standard and Poor's, and the 500 represents the largest and most actively traded companies on the stock market.
Okay. So
So
if
that you can get an idea of what the stock market is actually doing.
so if someone who really just doesn't know much about big companies or things happening in the stock market, they could go to an SMB website to look at what's going on there.
Yeah, they can go to Standard and Poor's and see well, you can go to any financial, Yahoo Finance, MSN Finance, Microsoft Finance, whatever they call it today. Any of those financial websites generally will have a ticker running at the bottom or a box on the side, which will generally cover the NASDAQ, which is generally tech-heavy companies. That's another index. The S&P, which is the 500 companies, and then the Dow, the Dow Industrial Average, which is basically the 30 top companies that they've selected in the Dow. It's only 30 companies. S&P is a broader one, obviously, and it gives you a better idea of what the stock market is doing.
Okay, great.
So, as students, Ben is a student, Marlene just finished school. What should they be doing? Should they be looking at savings accounts? What should they be doing to kind of start their portfolio?
Well, there are lots of different options today in this digital world we live in, this information age. Hey, I try to get people that are just starting in their careers, as I said earlier, save first. I don't care if it's not but $10, $50 a month. Start, because see, we're all creatures of habit. All of us. There is no exception to that rule. And I always use the example of I ask somebody to cross their legs, and by habit, we all cross our legs the same way we crossed it last few years, I say, now do me a favor, cross it the opposite way. And you want to talk about uncomfortable? It's uncomfortable for you to cross your leg the opposite of where you've been crossing it for the last 5, 10, 15, whatever years, So, but get comfortable saving. Make it a priority. And then it won't be so hard.
But if I can only afford,
it's not easy. Go ahead.
What if I could only afford to put in a couple dollars every few days? What if my budget just truly isn't that big? Should I still use what little money I have and make $5 investments every 15 days or something like that?
Absolutely. I won't get into specifics because I really can't, but we have a platform. It's a digital platform. We can start a person with as little as $10. And it's a legitimate investment. And I'll leave the name on just for, compliance reasons. I won't get into company names and strategies and that sort of thing, but we can start a person with as little as $10. And I don't mean, now obviously $10 is not going to do much, but that goes with what you said. What if I only got a couple of dollars? See, here's the reality. Anybody eat at fast food in the last month?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody?
Yeah,
That's 1, 2, 3, all of us, right? I was on the phone with a guy last night. He was talking, he was leaving work, and he pulls up to, I'm not going to get free advertising, but pulls up to a popular fast food joint, and he orders the meal, and he gets some ice cream, and I could hear because he says, hold on. I'm ordering some food, and they come back and they said $14 and some change for what he just ordered for one person. So here's my point. Most people do that at least once a week.
Yeah.
Do the math. That's over $50 a month. So here's my point. You have more than $5 or $10. You just chosen to send it in a different direction. That's going back to what does financial literacy look like? What was the question? Financial in action, I'll say. Yeah. So sometimes you got to make that decision. Maybe I'll just get the sandwich and not get the meal and save $7 and put that $7 in my uh, my Independence Day account, I like to call it.
Ooh.
Because that's really what we're working towards. We're working toward the day when we will be financially independent. Now, if I ask each one of you, what does financial independence mean to you? I'll probably get three different answers. But let me give you a simple definition. That's when you have enough money coming in to pay all of your bills and your needs without having to work. That's financial independence. I am independent of a job, independent of the government, independent of my family to take care of my daily needs
Well,
and wants, I will add. Go
that
ahead.
that idea sounds I don't know, pretty strange to what at least we've been taught growing up. You know, you got to work hard a lot of your time to make the money, but when in reality, it's just you're doing you while letting this. But in reality, how do you actually let money make itself while you aren't working? Because that concept can seem out there.
Well, I mean, there are all kinds of calculators you can go, and that's the other thing you should do. Go and play with some of these things. And as we do these podcasts, we can answer some of those questions and say, I really, but if, I mean, I could go, let me give you an example. No, I better not. I don't want to get too specific, but think about this. I'm going to just give you a hypothetical.
Okay.
How many of you got an iPhone?
Yeah.
There's four of us on the call. All four of us have an iPhone. How many of you upgraded in the last 3 years?
No, but I'm about to.
Yeah, we're generally 3 or 4 years we upgrade. Eventually you have to, right? But here's my point. What if, and again, I'm not making any recommendation, this is just a hypothetical. What if you had put $1,000 in Apple, or let's see, I don't know how old you guys are, but I'll use Robin. Robin, what if you had put $1,000 in Apple for your son when on the day he was born?
Oh, wow.
I don't know what that would be worth today, but it would be worth a ton of money.
Yes.
So that's a long answer to your question, Ben. But if you invest properly and don't just sit it and forget it, but keep an eye on it and you do that consistently, and you, as the book says, do it early, do it often, and be patient. That may not be an exact quote, but that's what it is. So I don't care if it's but the $5 or $10 a week that Marlene was talking about, but if you do that consistently, you'll look up when you're 60 years old and you'll have this huge nest egg and you'll go, wow.
Well, does,
But
does
go
consistency
ahead.
mean having gaps? Like what if there are moments where I just can't make those payments? Are gaps acceptable? What happens with that? Does it depreciate value? What?
Well, sure, all is acceptable. Just realize when every decision we make, there's cause and effect. If we make the decision not to, that just means that money won't be invested and it won't be growing for your future. You choose to go to Vegas or choose to go to New York or choose to go to the Bahamas instead. And I'm not saying don't go, but I know I've been with people and they're spending money like they're rich. It's like, you paid how much for that watch? Also, they can say, I bought it while I was in the Bahamas. It's like, who's going to care? Who's going to even know for that matter? But, and again, so I know, do what you can do, but again, make it a priority. It has to be a priority because if you don't pay today, you will pay later in the future.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you my age, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But see, it's hard for you guys to see when you're 20 something, when you're 19, because hey, we just want to have fun. And I know the common phrase is, I got a lot of time.
Yeah, right.
Look at the book. Look at the book. The
Well,
book will tell you
just seems
time
like
is either your enemy or your ally. Go ahead.
absolutely. Yeah, no, no, I'd like that too, how they emphasize the time value of money, because the one thing is you just don't get that time back, you
Mm.
know.
You
Um,
cannot make it up.
no, and but I know as a for younger people, I mean, first of all, they're not making any money or because they don't have a really good job, and then once you get a good job, you want to get out and start spending the money because it's the first time that you've ever really had some money on your own. I mean, maybe some people are these one percenters, maybe they're not like that, but but I can see where the excitement of the moment takes over. But I also do see too about you saying you build habits, even if it's $5 a day. Every Friday, you put that $5 in, no matter what, it becomes a habit, and soon it gets to be more.
I, I'll tell you another quick story, and I got tons of them, but this is a personal story. I was reading some books, because I had a desire to be financially independent. And so I'm reading books, and one of the books says, I don't care where you are, start saving. And I was in real estate at the time, and it was up and down. But my wife at the time had a quote unquote real job. And so I told her, I said, look, go to benefits tomorrow and tell them to start taking 5% of your check and put it in your retirement plan. And she goes, 5%? She says, we're barely paying our bills now. How are we going to do it with less money? I said, we'll figure it out. Just go do it. And she kind of went, okay. And then and we didn't even miss the money. Okay. Then after we got comfortable with that habit, and it was an automatic habit, we didn't even have to think about it. Then I said, go increase it to 10%. She went, I know you've fallen off your rocker now. But she did it consistently. We adjusted. It worked. We ended up divorcing. And as a part of the divorce, I said, well, we had some stock. And I said, well, you can keep the retirement money. Be honest, I didn't even ask her what it was, but I know it was a pretty good amount. And I don't know what she did with it because I didn't get into her finances, but she had money she would not have had.
Oh yeah,
And that's kind of the point.
and it's like you didn't miss it. You didn't suffer.
It is amazing once we put a priority on something, it's amazing how we can stick to it. But you got to first change your thinking
Wow.
because everything ever created was first created in thought.
So,
Most definitely.
yeah, it seems like a lot of that, then, at least what you're talking about, comes from this real mindset of trying to just, of abundance and focusing on the future. Is that kind of what a lot of this comes down to?
That's exactly what it comes down to. If you don't think it and if you don't commit to it, it is never going to happen. I mean, I don't like to use words that, like never and always. But if you don't first think about it and get obsessed with it, you're probably going to have mediocre results, if any.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a great book written. Every business person is encouraged to read the book Think and Grow Rich. And if
Right.
you follow what's in that book, some of you may have heard of it. But notice the first word in the title,
Think.
Think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
think. It
Yeah.
doesn't say, no offense to any of you, it doesn't say get a college degree and go rich. It doesn't say work hard and grow rich.
Yeah.
It doesn't say in it, it says think. Some of the richest people in the world don't have a degree.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They thought of an idea in their mind. They didn't know how they were going to do it, but they were committed to getting it done. And they sought out the information, the people, the advice, the technologies, and they probably failed 50 million times before they made it work. But it started with a thought. The house, the building you're in right now was first thought about. Somebody jotted it down on paper. They got an architect to do a rendering of it. And then they got all of the tradespeople to literally build it. Your life should be treated the same way.
Oh yeah. Hmm. But a lot of no, I was going to ask you then about, savings accounts, because I mean, I've always just heard about you put the money to a savings account, and people kind of laugh at you now if you do that. But like, what is the difference? I know what the difference is between simple and compound interest, but I mean, how do you start getting compound interest working for you? How does that kick in? I remember the Albert Einstein quote in
Well,
the
the
book.
one thing you have to understand about,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
see, here's the thing about simple interest. You got for easy math, you got $1,000, and I'm going to use simple math. I know you can't get this in a savings, but let's say you're getting 10%. You make $100 a year. Okay. So now, if you put that money in the account, now you got $1,100 a year. But simple interest pays interest on the $1,000. It does not pay interest on the 1,100.
Okay.
So we have accounts that are based on simple interest. So the simple interest is all right. You put in 100 grand, you're making 10%. You're making 10,000 a year. All right. So in 10 years, you made another 100 grand. Your account doubles, right? With compound interest, you put in 100,000, it makes 10%. Now you got 110,000 in there. And next year, when you make 10%, you're making 10% on 110,000.
Mhm.
And as you perpetuate that, it just compounds. That's why if you look at a graph between an account with simple interest and an account with compound interest, it is oh God,
And
the
graphs.
balance is just there like day and night.
Absolutely.
A
Wow.
significant difference.
But
Wow.
then in terms of compound interest, just something I was kind of curious about from the book was that, well, yeah, more money will be added to the account. But where does that money exactly come from? If you aren't touching the account or doing anything with it.
Well, it's based on what you invested in. So if you invested in a diversified portfolio of investments,
Yeah.
it depends on what that investment earned in that year. And then what that earned is added to your account balance. And of course, and again, I don't want to get into specifics here, but if you're doing like for instance, one of the accounts I have, it's a reinvestment account. So if you earn dividends or growth, instead of them sending you a check, they just put the money back in your account. And of course, that you have in there purchases more of the investments that you've committed to being in. And so, you know, wealth and financial independence is about ownership. It's about having assets that can produce income. That's really what it's about because, our expenses never go away. We're going to have expenses till the day we die.
Yeah.
And the question is, how are we going to cover those expenses? And I ask some dumb questions sometimes, and especially for you young people. I say, if you spend everything you earn, how much money are you going to have in the future?
That's
Zero.
confident. Yeah, no.
It's confidential. see, everybody gets that. And if you ask people, is that your goal to be broke in the future? Then everybody will go, well, of course not. Then why aren't you saving or investing more?
Mhm.
I can't make it any simpler than that.
Yeah.
But then if like there are a lot of students right now who are probably have a lot of student loans and need to pay that off. How do you deal with, saving money for your personal investments when you're already going to have to pay off these loans also?
Well, we have a company we work with that helps people and counsels people on how to get those payments lowered, and if they're in the right career, even have it forgiven regardless of what they owe. Some point in the future, you can get with me on that. That's another topic. But let me say something. That's a book I would highly recommend all of you get if I haven't mentioned this already, and I don't get any royalties, just so you know. But it's Evangelpreneur,
Mhm.
just like evangelic, but Evangelpreneur.
Oh, okay.
What that book says, and I'll say this to any student. I'll give that's good, great, a couple of great examples. Hey, get out of the job mentality. No offense, and I am not intending to offend anybody. But all you got to do is look at history and how many people have achieved, and I don't even know what your goals are, but ask yourself this question. How many people working the typical 9 to 5 have achieved financially what I want to achieve? And you know the numbers. They're horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
evangelpreneur says if you're not going to be an entrepreneur, you're not going to make it. You're not going to have anything of any true significance. Now, I got to tell you, entrepreneurship is not easy,
No.
but it's so gratifying. It's so worth it. You know, it's, I tell people all the time, I say, you know, I live the dream life. My commute's from upstairs to downstairs. I don't have a boss. I don't have set hours. I get whatever vacation days I want. I work as long as I want or as short as I want. I can take a nap when I want. Um,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I tell people all the time, if you could replace your job income, just replace it. Not even go for being quote unquote rich, but you had total control over your life and your time. How would that make you feel? I mean, my alarm goes off and I don't need it, just so you know. My alarm goes off at 5:20 a.m. This morning, I was awake at 4:41. Already awake, thinking about this Zoom meeting, thinking about a few other things that I had to do, and just and you know, I did nod off a little more. I have my routine I do in the morning, but I don't need an alarm clock.
Mhm.
You know, I look forward to getting up and educating people and working with people and helping people. It's still to this day. I've been doing this 25 years, not counting my real estate career, and I still get goosebumps when people get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it seems like that whole entrepreneurship mentality is becoming really popular with young people. I mean, that 9 to 5 thing is kind of seems like it's on its way out, and people are almost afraid of that. But for people who like that type of structure, what are some options for them? Do you think a side hustle could be a good option?
Oh, absolutely. Here's my I believe in one thing I believe in, and I'm always open to them. If it blends in with what I'm doing, and that's multiple streams of income.
Ah,
I'm
yes.
sure you've all heard those isms, that wisdom that says don't put all your eggs in one basket, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, some people think, oh, I have a secure career. COVID has shown people there's no such thing as a secure job. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of people that are not going back to the way they used to work before.
Right.
Corporations are rethinking their office space. They're rethinking how many employees do we really need. And
Oh,
some people won't have that job. See, I've never been laid off.
and I think that's
They
particularly
can't
true
fire me.
for people of color. I was reading about too that people of color, particularly women of color, have during this COVID time have really suffered a lot of the huge losses and huge job insecurity, and those jobs aren't coming
Yep.
back. And
No, they're not. I was listening yesterday and they were saying, of course, the lower income jobs are the ones that are going to hurt the most. That's always the case, unfortunately. But they were saying it's not going to be back where it was. They're estimating until 2024.
wow.
So these people are going to be hurting for quite a while. Now, Ben, just so you know, we can be a hard side hustle for people. You know, we teach people how money works. It's not as complicated as people think. You guys have read the book. It's only 128 pages, but here's what I use this word whenever I can. Here's what I'll guarantee you. If you will commit to those 7 money milestones and don't skip any and take care of it all, you will find yourself in the future financially independent. Now, if you take that you learn and teach it to other people and help them get their financial house in order, I'm gonna tell you, it's some real good money in this. Let me just give you this. It's the largest industry on the planet.
Wow. Really?
Okay, the financial industry is the largest industry on the planet. It doesn't say it in the book, but in our class, you know, most people say real estate or retail,
Yeah.
but the financial industry is larger than both of those industries combined, almost times two.
Wow.
Wow.
Think
Yeah.
about it. We're,
Oh,
we're in the insurance and the investment industry. All of you are affected by those industries without exception.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
drive through any major metropolitan city in any major city in the United States and probably the world, and look up at the tallest buildings and see what names are on them the next time you're in one of those.
True. Yeah.
True. Yeah.
When people are looking for financial advice or something like that, what are the characteristics of a good financial advisor or a financial professional?
Well, I think obviously they have to have a little knowledge or at least somebody mentoring them that they can go to and get the knowledge if they don't have the experience yet. And that's kind of where our company is structured. Let's just say, Ben, hypothetically, if you would have joined with me and you talked with, and your mom would be the worst example, but let's say you talk to your mom and she's not going to listen to you, right? But if you bring me with 25 years of experience and introduce me and let me do the talking, she'll probably be a little more open. So bottom line, first they have to have experience and have just a great general knowledge of what people need to do. Secondly, I think they have to have access to the products and services that are going to benefit people. Um, and they can't be this is the way we always did it kind of advisor. There's so many different options out there today. They have to really be conscientious about what it is the client is looking for and what they're trying to accomplish and be willing to work with them regardless of where they are in life, whether they're a student with their first job or, a person getting ready to retire and trying to figure out how can I make this last throughout the rest of my life, because that's the biggest fear of our generation. We might run out of money, and there's a real serious problem here that a lot of us are going to run out of money before we run out of life.
Right.
And that means when you're an adult, you're thinking, man, I'm glad I had 4 kids because one of them can help me through retirement. And I know you guys don't want to hear that because you're going to have your 3 or 4 kids, right? It's like, hey, mom, come on. But yeah, and really the number one thing is because see, there are a lot of companies out there, some of the big names you see advertised. If you go to them and say, I'm just starting, I got $1,000 now and I can put in $100 a month, they'll say, well, we got an online site you can use. See, we'll still sit down with you and not only get you to think about the $1,000 you have now, but where is it you want to be in the future?
Oh, yeah.
So let's see, did I miss anything else? Really, they just have to be caring. They have to really want to help, and it can't be all about just what they make. They have to have the best interest of their clients at heart.
Wow.
Yeah. Seems like a good characteristic all around for a salesperson or any personal.
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly. I'll tell you the story. A few years ago, a few years ago, we had Tony Dungy as a keynote at one of our conventions. Now, for those of you that are not football fans, he was the first African American to win a Super Bowl in the NFL as a head coach. And Tony Dungy said, and he's a real good guy. Overall, he's got great character. He's got great values. He's mentoring a lot of people in the NFL and through his church. And so he's a real good overall guy. But he talked about when he played as a player. And he said, and I got my first coaching job. And I wasn't making much money because this is probably, I'm guessing, in the 70s when he got his first coaching job. And my coach had his financial advisor come to me and he says, look, I want you to start saving some money for your future. And he said, I'm having my financial advisor come to you. So he says, the advisor comes to him and says, well, how much can you comfortably afford to put aside each month? And he says, I was probably making $2,000 or $3,000 a month. And he says, oh, I can do $200 to $300 a month. He said, okay, we're going to get started. He says, but the other financial companies, they wouldn't give me the time of day. He says, but now that I won the Super Bowl and I have my own business teaching and mentoring and this, that, and that, now everybody wants to be my advisor, right? And now I won't give them the time of day.
I like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So you find somebody you trust too. That's important. And trust your gut.
Yeah, and get a lot of your own become financially literate yourself too, so you can at least have some idea.
Yeah.
And I'm a little biased in this area, but all of us want to have a good career. We want to make good money, so we don't have to we don't have to make those choices between, well, I really want to do this, but I can't afford it. Get in an industry, you know where I'm headed with this. Get in an industry that can fuel your dreams, if you will. Now, of course, I'm a little biased, as I said. Get in the industry, get in the financial industry, because I'm going to tell you, unless no advisor is going to tell you everything, because a lot of what we know and the strategies we have access to, especially for you, Ben and Marlene, y'all don't need them right now. So we're not going to talk to you about that. That's a waste of time.
Mhm.
So if you get in the industry, you will learn things you'll never see on TV. And the number one reason why they never get specific, you show me a specific financial, other than life insurance, maybe a home and auto insurance, they don't ever talk specifics on any of the investment companies. They don't ever talk about a product or strategy. You know why?
Right.
Because the regulations and the disclaimers they would have to put on to make sure that they're protected from the regulators and protecting their assets would be longer than the commercial. And so they just talk general.
Mm-hmm.
So the question becomes, where are you going to learn it?
Well, I mean, I don't know if they want you to learn it necessarily.
Oh, that's interesting, Marlene.
Well, let's get real.
Yeah.
Let's get real, especially when it comes to banking. The less you know, the more they make.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because if you put your money in a 0.05% account and they turn around and loan it to other people, they're giving you 0.05 and they're charging, depending on what you want to loan from, anywhere from 5-6% all the way up to who knows.
Yeah.
And you banks primarily loan their depositors money.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, the less you know, that's the sucker part of the book. If they call it sucker cycle, that's spending money on, I'm gonna use my version of it, but buying stuff, spontaneously, or just because, and don't have a savings plan, and just doing that over and over and over again. All of these digital subscriptions that people are paying anywhere from $5 to $10 to $15 a month, and
Mhm.
they're not watching it, and all of that money just going out, and not enough's coming in. It'll come back to bite you.
So if I'm watching my account and I notice that my money isn't growing the way I want it to because of the specific investment accounts that I've chosen, would you advise that I take my money out and go find another one and start the process
That
over?
depends. Yeah, you got to evaluate it, and if it's not meeting your specific goals, then yeah, you might need to make some adjustments. And I say might because obviously anybody makes that blanket statement and say, yeah, you should, because there could be some other things you could tweak right inside that account. You may not have to take it out, and depending on the type of account, if you just take it out, there could be some tax ramifications, so you have to think about that as well. So that's another reason to have a good advisor, because you should be meeting with your advisor at least annually to review it, to see if you're on track, to see if there's anything different you could do, so on and so forth. As I like to say, it's a two-way street. So we meet annually. I'm checking to see if you did what you said you were going to do. And then you're checking me and my company to see if we're doing what we said we're gonna do.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, I guess I've just about finished with my espresso, but I do have one last question. I mean, I don't know if you guys will have one too. Well, I mean, even if you put your money into a savings account, you're earning, 0.05. I mean, as long as you're saving, you're not losing. I mean, I heard that as long as you're not, I mean, well, you're not losing money then. I know the goal isn't to not lose money, but is that considered a mistake then? You're trying to maximize, I know, but at least you're not losing money and it's safe, right?
Well, let me pull the curtain back. All right. First of all, if you're getting 0.05% and inflation is at 5%, you're losing money. You're losing purchasing power, because over the long haul, I'll give you for instance, $10,000 today will not buy the same goods and services 10 years from now as it buys today, because the cost of living will dictate, and inflation will dictate, those goods and services are going to cost more. So if you're only earning 5%, and we got a little, we can do this. This is just a math calculation. And that 5%, guess what? Or 0.05, I'm sorry. Even though they're only paying you $1, Uncle Sam wants 30 cents of that buck.
Oh, that's right, taxes. Mm-hmm.
You gotta pay taxes. Plus inflation is going up. Now, if you read Evangelpreneur, they say the real rate of inflation is 10%. The government says around 3. Yeah, I mean, you think about it. I mean, think about this. How much was I was just about to call a name, but how much was a hamburger meal 10 years ago?
Oh.
$5?
Yeah, maybe that. Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's $10 today.
Right. Right. Oh, right.
You know, if that continues, and I got a few years, and I'm going to tell you, it's going to continue.
Mm-hmm.
When I started driving, I'm going to date myself now. When I started driving, I know we're going electric, but that's still going to be cost. Electric ain't free. Parts ain't free. Batteries are not free. They don't last forever.
Mm-hmm.
When I started driving, gasoline was 27 cents a gallon.
Whoa, 27 cents. Wow. Oh my gosh.
You could fill up you can do the math. I remember when we were going for a ride, we'd literally be counting quarters to see who had a quarter or 50 cents to add to get some gas so we could ride.
Yeah.
But
those days.
you know, and I could just go online, look and see, ask yourself, what was the average cost of, you know, there's all kind of places on Google you can see that. So you are losing money. Not only that, but inflation is taking away your purchasing power. So when you come look at those two, you're going. We like to say you're going broke slowly.
Ooh. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Because you're not earning anything. You're literally going backwards.
Wow, going broke slowly. Wow, that's
like your boat.
Now, one last thing. There are appropriate times like your emergency fund to put that in a savings or very low or no risk strategy, because that's money. If you have an emergency, you want to make sure it's there. You don't want to be subject to what happens with the market. So there's an appropriate time for that, but don't expect that money to be growing at any phenomenal rate.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, that's it for me. I mean, Jorick has told us, given us a lot to think about, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Well, good. Now, you know what I'm going to say. Don't just think about it. Get a plan. I don't care if you don't have the $10 a month. And everybody, if they got any kind of income, have $10 a month.
Right.
Even if you're working for a fast food joint, you got $10 a month.
That's true. That's true. Isn't that right, guys?
It'll look like nothing. It'll look like nothing in the beginning. And your first inclination will be, this isn't doing anything. I'm going to just take it and go and buy those shoes I've been wanting. And guys, you know, I got a son, he got 40 pair of tennis shoes. So it's not just women. Yeah, I know that's a bit over the top, but you know, but he's grown now. He can do what he wants to do. And his girlfriend gives him 2 pair for Valentine's Day. It's like, really?
Good. Like that.
It's love.
So, but yeah, it'll look like nothing. And that's why the book says, be patient.
Okay.
Be patient. Rome was not built in a day. I don't know what that means and where that came from, but the reality is, you know. Oh, and going back, I want to go back to something, Ben, I was going to say, and then we'll wrap it up with here. You know, you were talking about not making money and whether they should be an entrepreneur and so on and so forth. Think about this. 3 of the richest people in the world, for sure in the US, dropped out of college to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Bill Gates.
Yep.
Steve Jobs.
Yep.
Zuckerberg. I don't know. Zuckerberg might have finished, but I think he dropped out too.
Yeah.
But those are 3 of the richest men known. They had an idea. They went forward with their idea, even though a bunch of times it didn't work. And then they kept correcting. They kept changing it. They kept seeking advice and counsel and find out ways they could tweak it. And eventually they dominated their industry. Their companies were dominant. Apple is the largest capitalized company on the planet,
Really?
meaning they have more cash than any other company on the planet.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm.
That was quick.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big motive.
Yeah, they can do whatever they want to do anytime they want to do it because they've got. Never forget this. Jot this down. Don't ever forget this, and it'll never change. And I don't believe in using words like never. Cash is king.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cash.
Always has been. Always will be. Cash is king. And
Yeah.
Apple's got a lot of it. So if they have an industry they want to dive into, they got the cash.
Okay, and on that note, okay, I'm not going to start another double espresso, so we're going to have to end there.
Yeah.
Remember that,
Yeah,
right?
because we could go on forever. And as Marlene said, we could do this all day. Yeah, a few days. But
Absolutely.
it's good. We'll keep doing this. And we're not going to teach people to be stock investors. That's not what we do. We teach the fundamentals, the basics. I get too many people say, I want to buy some stock. I say, well, let me ask you a question. Have you, and I'll just cut the chase, I'll reference the book. Have you completed your 7 money milestones?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have an emergency fund? Do you have insurance? Do you have this? Because if you got a stock account and it goes kaput and you didn't build your emergency fund, or heaven forbid you pass and you got a kid, you got no life insurance, you got no foundation. See, if you build a strong foundation, and I know I'm going to overtime,
No, it's fine.
you build a strong foundation and a storm, let's use a house for instance. You build a house on a strong foundation, a storm comes and wipes the house out. It doesn't, or it rarely takes away the foundation, right?
Right.
So you can rebuild on the foundation. But if you build a house and you don't put a foundation and the storm takes it away, what do you got to build on?
And failure.
Yeah, nothing.
And,
You got to start from scratch.
right.
So
And
build a
maybe,
foundation.
and so maybe actually, we probably have touched on a few of the milestones, but maybe next month, Jorick, will you come and we maybe go through all 7 of them? And
I'd love to.
it's great.
I'd love to. And the first one we're working on, I'm going to cover the first one right now and then we'll end on this.
Mhm.
The first money milestone is a financial education, knowledge. Now, we've all heard the statement that knowledge is power. It's partially true. Knowledge applied is power. Knowledge just for the sake of knowledge is worse than worthless
Oh,
because you're not doing anything with what you know.
right.
You got to act.
Well, think about this. The man that knows how to read but never reads is no better off than the man that does not know how to read.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Neither are reading.
That's true. Wow.
Really, the inaction is the killer.
Action is a killer, you said?
Inaction.
Oh, yeah. Detrimental. Absolutely. Because see, God, I could just go on and on about this reality because, like I said earlier, yeah, you're getting me going, Marlene, now. Because if you fail, most of you probably heard this. Thomas Edison, they said he failed at creating the light bulb 10,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what he said? I didn't fail 10,000 times. I found 10,000 ways that didn't work.
That's good.
Which allowed me to find the way that would work. In other words, if you don't go through the process, don't expect any significant results.
Yeah.
Be prepared to fail. Matter of fact, fail often. Don't be stupid, but fail. Don't be a sucker, but fail often. Try it, try and try again. Never give up. Because see, you never fail until you quit.
Well, yeah, that sounds a lot like this growth mindset stuff. Like I see this a lot on Instagram, people talking about growth mindset, there are no such thing as failures and all those things. But this has been a very financial conversation, but I think what we really need to establish, is who's going to take the bill for these espressos.
Well, Ben, you know what? Since you brought it up, I'm nominating you.
I second it. I second it. This has been
All
a
right,
good
guys.
investment, though. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's a great investment of time, no doubt about it, and I love doing it. So let's spread the word. Let's get people more with the right mindset and doing the things that's going to get them where they want to go. Because see, most people, and I'm really going to end on this one. Most people are going to end up right where they're headed, but then arrive and realize it's not where they wanted to go.
That's it.
Ooh. Oh. Mm-hmm. Oh boy.
That's why we have to check in and course correct when necessary.
Good point. All right. And so in April, then we'll get to these milestones, because I think they're real important for us to.
Yes, ma'am. All 7 of them.
That's right. I'm going to have a triple espresso that day. I'll be ready. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Robin, we're reaching the youth, and you know, I I made a lot of mistakes in my life financially. You know, I grew up very poor, and when I did get a job, like we said earlier, I just wanted to enjoy it. I wanted to get some of the things I never had an opportunity to have. You know, and needless to say, I spent all I made, having fun. You know, looking back on it, as they say, hindsight's 20/20. I can look back and go, man, if I'd have just saved a part of that, where would I be today?
Right.
All right, guys.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, guys. Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, have a wonderful day, a wonderful week,
You
and a
too.
wonderful life. And I'll see you for the next espresso.
Yep. See you next.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yes.
Okay. Bye. Stay safe.
Thanks. Bye now.
Hi, it's Ben again. First, I want to thank Jorick for his insights and thoughts about all things financial. I hope that you enjoyed this conversation about the importance of a financial education and the most important elements of financial literacy. I know that Marlene and I learned a lot from today, and we hope that you did too. There is so much more to learn and so many ways to do things right and unfortunately to do things wrong. That's why Jorick will return every month with this financial education insights. The book, How Money Works, lists 7 milestones to financial security. Today we discuss the first milestone. In April, Jorick will continue working through the 7 milestones to financial security from the How Money Works book. We hope that you will join us. If you have any questions for Jorick, you can contact him at Jorick Gaines at wealthwave.com. And of course, you can find him at the book, How Money Works, on Facebook at our Espresso Talk Today podcast page. And you can contact the Espresso Talk team at espressotalktoday@gmail.com or visit our website at espressotalktoday.com. So, thank you for joining me and the rest of the team on this financial empowerment journey. We really do look forward to seeing you soon and for our next Uncommon Conversation that we hold every Friday. Remember to bring your espresso. Bye for now.